terrifying and unpredictable was sometimes enough to deter me from even trying.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think about my mom. So my mom was not abused, but I can remember at one point she was really unhappy with my dad, and I was young, and I said, Mom, why don't you just leave him? And I can remember her crying and saying, I can't, he won't let me. And, she was financially dependent, but just the fact that she had this warped mentality of I can't, but she had no reason to explain why she couldn't. It was just this mindset that she just believed, I can't do it. I have to just do what, my husband wants. I have to stay in this and just figure it out day to day. So I think it's so hard to understand, and I don't think anyone is ill-intentioned. I don't think anyone wants to choose someone over their children. I just think it's such a complex thing that goes on in people's brains, and they're just trying to survive day to day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
There's so many movies
really
out
tough.
there that represent that, like Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts, the What's Love Got to Do with It, the Tina Turner story. So many times there's like different scenarios where they try to get away and they get kind of stalked and hunted down, and it just wears them out. And so many different scenarios, but
you said,
each.
Tiffany, you said you don't think women choose the abuse over the children. I disagree. I'll just tell you this scenario. When we left him, you read the book, when I was going into 8th grade, and we went back to him, she was happy as a lark, and she was telling us how much she missed him and everything. And me and my sister, were huge targets, and we were devastated. We were crushed, But she was happy, and that's why I made that comment, because there was other options, but it's kind of like, a dog throws up and he goes back to his vomit, and eats it.
Well, maybe she had this fantasy in her head that he would change and you guys would be a happy family. Not so much, I love him more than my kids. You never know.
Yeah. Well,
like the brainwashing is messed up part, the manipulation, especially from someone that can actually abuse a woman or a woman abusing a man, It's very manipulative. It changes someone's way of thinking. It changes their self-esteem. And every time we go through trauma, and I can't explain exactly how this works, but every time we're traumatized, and abuse is very traumatic, if it's like sexual, physical, if it's witnessing something, war-related, everything, it changes the DNA in our brain, and it changes the way we respond and we react to circumstances. And we have to reprogram. We have to go through that therapy. And most people that are in abusive relationships, they don't get the help like that until later on. But it does affect our brain, it affects our DNA, and it affects how we perceive the world and our tolerance for stupidity, to be honest. There's science that proves on how trauma affects the brain, and it does change it. But
well, thank you for
Thank you so much for calling in, for all you do, Joe.
Thank you for that information, and thank you for taking my call, and thank you for sharing your story, man.
Yes,
Ashley, thank you.
and thank you, Joe, for what you do. It's not easy to speak up as a child. I think we need more voices from all different perspectives to really drive change. So thank you.
Yes, and Joe's one of the ones that are standing up and speaking on behalf of abused kids and writing books and really doing his part too. So making good out of bad is, I really admire that too. Thanks again, Joe. Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ashley, we have another caller. We have Kenny. Hi, Kenny.
Hi, Ashley. How are you?
Hi, Kenny. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Okay, so like we're talking childhood trauma and abusive situations that do continue in my life, apparently, though. And, I mean, what helps me, without talking about that, but what helps me is a 12-step program and a therapist, obviously. Tiffany is someone who has helped me tremendously throughout the years.
Thanks, Kenny. I'm happy to help. But yeah, sometimes abuse repeats itself. And we're not talking so much childhood, it's more like domestic relationships and things like that. But I bet you we're more vulnerable to abusive relationships if we are abused as children as well. So, I mean, that's got to be a correlation in its own. What would you say, Ashley?
Yeah, I mean, abuse is a learned thing. You know, we're exposed to behaviors and how certain things get us certain responses, and so we just come to accept certain, certain behaviors as normal. You know, it's how kids learn to abuse or what they think is appropriate or normal in a relationship. So there's definitely a correlation between our childhood experiences with these relationships and us being vulnerable to them as adults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's horrible to think that we have a bad start at life, and then it affects how it affects every relationship moving forward if we don't get the right treatment or help to redefine our own self-esteem and self-worth. Carolyn Cook on Facebook says, all the women feel they have no choice but to stay because they are made to feel worthless. It's exactly. Thank you for posting that, Carolyn. It's so true, and that's what we're trying to say.
Too, I was just going to say, I know too. For me, because I had experienced abuse over and over at a young age, I convinced myself that I was destined to be in abusive relationships. Like, this is just the hand that life has dealt me, and I have to figure it out. Like, I just thought that's what my life was resigned to. So I just accepted abuse as, like, something I had to uniquely deal with. You're
not alone on that. I used to think I attract narcissists, or I was attracted to them. Yeah. Like, I was wanted the bad boy or something, and it would be a short-lived, relationship, and that you go through a bunch of them before you start to realize maybe I should start looking for something that I wasn't interested in the first place and try that out. Right. And then you find like you actually are in a healthy relationship because you find something that you weren't always like attracted to. You tried the opposite. Mm-hmm. That helps too.
Right.
But Kenny, thank you so much for sharing and for your positive feedback. And it's never too late to make the first day of the rest of your life today.
Well, definitely. I mean, I'm kind of one who has broken the cycle in me being violent towards other people. But I do wind up in situations where violence happens, more than it should, and those are the situations that I need to remove myself with. Though I'm trying to, I don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah, well, you probably, for lack of a better word, have been triggered. And you respond in a defense mechanism, but to learn to be aware of what you could find yourself in danger of, and be smart enough to walk away is the best thing, and that's progress. It's time for our second break, and Kenny, I'm gonna have to let you go, but thank you so much for calling in and for all your support, and keep in touch, okay?
Have a great Friday the 13th and a great weekend.
Friday the 13th. I didn't even put that together. You too. And we're going to take our second break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Stay tuned.
We will return to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner after these messages.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Financial independence is not a dream. It is a decision. Overcoming your financial challenges is like building a house. You must build from the ground up. You must learn how to make more money, save more money, grow your money, and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 basic money skills. Call us today at 727-422-7761 to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns.
Are you looking for a great book? If you like to root for the underdog, Joe Potosi's book is a book for you. A real American Odyssey that will grab your attention with its fast-moving narrative. You won't be able to put this masterpiece down. When the Dust Settled by Joe Potosi. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Zulin Press.
Hi, this is Tiffany Werner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment. and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one. Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician-songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Hi, and welcome back. This is Moments of Clarity. My name is Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we're talking about overcoming abusive relationships, domestic violence, teen violence, and how to find yourself after witnessing or going through a relationship like that, and self-empowerment. And my guest today is an award-winning activist, national speaker, and really using her story to empower others. And I want to welcome back to Moments of Clarity, Ashley Bendixson. Am I saying your last name right? Bendixson?
Yes, you are. Yeah, good job.
Thank you. And and I friended you on Facebook, by the way, yesterday. And so hopefully we can tag you on the Facebook Live and send this podcast. I want to welcome callers. Call in 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340. If you want to feedback or share a story or give some helpful tips, we're here and willing to listen, and we're on live. So, Ashley, some of the things, like especially kind of like sum up for those who are just turning on the show, that that abuse doesn't always have to be a repetitive pattern, but it does. It is, and it tends to be in relationships, especially if your first love is an abuser or an abusive relationship, or you tend to kind of go to the same patterns because we build up our tolerance for abuse, or maybe see things differently than what they're supposed to be. We kind of get used to our own world around us, and so, what are some tools that you give when you speak for women to be empowered and to break that cycle?
Yeah. So. For me, it started with simply knowing what domestic violence actually was. I think every bad relationship that I was in, I made excuses. I justified it. Oh, it's because they have a traumatic past. This is why they act this way. I never just labeled it for what it was. And to be honest, I didn't even know what domestic violence was until I had a college class where a guest presenter came in and my life was on a PowerPoint slide in front of me. So I think step one is just identifying what you're going through and not making excuses for it. So that's at least what helped me. It was just being really aware of what I was going through. But as far as, leaving an abusive relationship is hard. You can't I certainly that day didn't decide I was going to go home and break up with my boyfriend. It's such a process to get to that point. And, if somebody out there is listening and they're in an abusive relationship, I can't encourage them enough to actually speak to someone who's a professional in this field. It's not always safe just to try to end a relationship or to talk about ending a relationship with these individuals. So really talking to your local agencies. And, I think when I speak, one of the things that I teach is that healing is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Because for me, in my moment of clarity, I just hit the ground running, and I was able to self-heal and self-coach and, take care of myself on my own Whereas other people who might have, be more prone to PTSD, anxiety, depression, really should enlist somebody else's help because, this is some deep mind stuff that you